I mean, the first thing I want to do is add my 2 cents to, or 4 cents to what the previous discussion. I love James' talk, and I characterize James' talk as how much armor are we going to put on the sheep before we go after the wolf? And then the discussion that you guys had, I think, is the biggest and best commercial for joining ICQ as a member. You know, no one company can deal with the cybercrime ecosystem. Our federal government doesn't even know how to deal with a cybercrime ecosystem. But if we join together in a neutral and intelligent and controlled space like MIT, I think we can come up with a strategy and everyone will benefit by it. So that's my kind of commercial. Is this the magic button? I guess. Yeah, okay. So the problem that I've been able to, well, actually, if I go, can I go back, or is that not allowed? Okay. So this is actually work that was done by Stuart Madnick. Stuart Madnick is the director of ICCube. He also has the distinction of having been a classmate of mine and the guy who lived across the hall from me in Bexley Hall Dormitory at MIT. So we know each other since before recorded history, and it's kind of amazing that we've both been involved in cybersecurity for industrial automation systems, myself since about 2003, and Stuart since 1994. So Stuart's research and his group, the team, the 14 researchers you saw on Michael's slide, and a whole host of others who didn't make it to Michael's slide yet, have been working on cybersecurity research for industrial systems for a long time. And Stuart wanted to come today, but he's in Paris at the Sorbonne, so what can you do? But in any case, the problem, one of the problems that I see as a very big problem is you go, we go, I go to my CFO and I say I need $2 million for cybersecurity, and he says, what's the ROI? And the answer, you know, an answer like the one that Dilbert would give is not going to help me keep my job. But there are many aspects of cybersecurity that are measured, but they're not particularly useful. There's no real way of assessing the state of cybersecurity in an organization, or what the benefit, what the ROI of doing some cybersecurity thing is. And one of the things that I think is very important in getting the resources that we're all interested in getting to do the best job that we can. So if we go through the 4 topics that we talked about today, we've been talking about starting out with how do we get the best resilience, and how do things go wrong, and basically all these things have been leading up to where's the best place to put our dollars. But if we have all these models that Michael, Key, and James have given us, we still need to tell the CFO what's the ROI, even though we can tell him where's the best place to put the money. And perception is absolutely key, and that old saying that perception is reality is really true. Okay, so this slide is perhaps a little repetitive, but basically, if we had metrics, or we need metrics, so that we can understand what's the ROI of doing cybersecurity actions, and we can help convince our C-level management, the people who write the checks, that we know what we're doing, we're spending the money wisely, and they have a way of measuring us. And that old business school saying, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. Many of our bosses believe that. So the MIT and Stuart developed this model, which was called a house of security. And you'll notice something familiar on the top. The roof is the CIA triangle. But the CIA triangle is the result that we're trying to achieve. And how do we get there? What supports the CIA triangle? And so MIT tried to look at what are the things that we need to hold up the roof of this house of security. And so we came up with technology resources, financial resources, business strategy, security, policy, procedures, and culture, something that's been talked about a lot this week. And this model, well, how do we know if it's any good? So what was done back in the early part of this century, I never thought I'd be saying that, but back in around 2007, was develop a survey technology which allowed MIT researchers to go out and survey 1,500 C-level executives and find out what they think, where they think their organization is in a certain cybersecurity area, and where they think their organization should be in that area. And the difference between where I think my organization should be and where I think it is the gap. And that gap is part of the motivator for getting them to spend more money to get where we all think they should be. So this is a beginning of a way of trying to measure, trying to show our management what the ROI, it's just a beginning. It was a long way to go of where we should spend money, where we'll get the best ROI on cybersecurity spending. And in fact, what we found out is several things. And this is a very abbreviated version of a very long and very interesting report. Different companies would have different views of themselves. Well, I can put up slides that show that different levels of management have different views of themselves too. So we found out the CFO has a different view than the COO, than the production, the head of production, than the head of quality assurance, and then the CIO, and so on. So if we take all this, we can construct these radar charts where we can actually show the gaps. So what is in black is where I think I am, and what in purple is where I think I should be, and the difference between the two is the gap. And this is basically for different companies. The different colors are for different companies. And as we go along, we find that these gaps are different for different companies. They're also different for different parts of the organization. And this is an eight-dimensional graph based on the CIA triangle and those 5 pillars of resources that can be used to hold up the CIA triangle. So, whoops, I'm going backwards. So it's first of all important to understand where everybody thinks they are, but secondly, now that we have this model, one of the things that happened by using this survey, examining, trying it out on 1,500 top executives. Whoops, I have to learn how to work this thing by the end of this talk. Okay, we validated the model, and we've got a construct now that we can work with. So one very important thing out of this research is that we have a model that can be used as a basis for looking at the ROI, the metrics, how to measure cybersecurity in an organization. Second thing we did is we validated the statistical significance of the things that we were able to measure so far. So using very high level, I have no idea what Cronbach alphas are. Maybe somebody, Michael does, I know, and James does, and Key does, but I don't. But this is the kind of mathematics that was big data analytics that was used to prove the model and show that the results are truly significant, and go back and validate that the results were meaningful. Did I just turn this thing off? Okay. Right. So what we can kind of do is take the traditional cybersecurity triangle, the framework core, okay, the identified, protect, detect, recover, restore, or ISA 62443, or NERC-CIP, depending on which table you're sitting at, and map that to these 5 key organizational functions. These five, these are the resources, these are the things within the organization that we've shown with the House of Security, with the survey, by 1,500 executive survey, and we'd love to do more if your organization would like to participate, that you have a framework which we can develop techniques to measure and assign values to cybersecurity to assets. What's the value of an asset? Everybody who's studied the CISSP regimen knows that you're not supposed to spend more on cybersecurity than an asset is worth. But the CISSP people don't tell us how to value an asset. Okay? What's the value of your reputation? What's the value of the city that might blow up if that asset explodes, and so on? So we've got a list of really important things that we have the people, the construct, the resources to research, and we're hoping that you're going to join us and help us research. And one of the small things that Michael glossed over at the beginning of this session, which I think is really important, one of our very first founding members, New York Power Authority, which runs the grid for New York State. Okay, that's no small grid. It's a pretty important one. Okay, Key has a class of 120 students who are studying cybersecurity, and New York Power Authority, as a member of ICCube, is going to allow her students, which are pretty smart kids, I can't believe they're kids, just to take their data and study the data and help the New York Power Authority come up with better constructs, concepts, better ways of protecting the New York State grid. So a force of 120 people, 120 very, very smart people, is going to spend roughly 4 or 5 months studying and analyzing that information. So I think that's extremely valuable for making 120 really good cybersecurity experts, for the state of New York, and for the New York Power Authority, and me as a resident of the state of New York. So let me just revert back here to MIT, and this is kind of a commercial. We have a very successful history of consortiums, okay? Many of you, some of you will know 2 of them. One's called the Center for Information Systems Research, and one's called the Energy Initiative. CISR that's out of date now. There are over 100 sponsor companies. So if you look at that list, the top 6, which are now 7, my slide's out of date, pay $120,000 a year. The bottom 97, 95, pay about $45,000 a year. That gives CISR a research budget of about $7 million a year. And everybody on that list gets to share in the research that is generated by a world-class faculty and research staff at MIT. MIT Energy Initiative, almost everybody on that list has somebody in this room. These companies go to MIT for expertise. My dear classmate and friend Stuart says there are only 2 places you go when you have a big problem. You go to Ghostbusters or you go to MIT. Okay? So why join? We're focused on solving the problems that you as cybersecurity professionals in critical infrastructure are dealing with. You're too busy bailing water out of the boat to plug the holes. Let MIT help you to plug those holes. And what happens is if you join, you'll get access to the entire research database, and there are different levels. At $35,000 a year, you can send 2 people to the annual conferences and 2 workshops per year. You get access to all the research. If you join at a higher level, the $120,000 level, you not only get those things, but you get direct access to faculty, you get the ability to influence the research projects, and there's one little item there that's highlighted on the bottom. There's another group at MIT called Cybersecurity at CSAIL. CSAIL is a computer science and artificial intelligence laboratory. CSAIL has its own cybersecurity research, but they're more down at the nuts and bolts. So they have a guy Anybody here know Ron Rivest? Never heard of Ron Rivest? Okay. Who's a CISSP? Okay, so Ron Rivest is the guy who was the R in RSA and developed all the SHA algorithms, all the hashing algorithms that we use on a daily basis. He's part of CSAIL. There's another group of faculty members who are working on encryption algorithms, on solid chip design, how to make chips without backdoors, the really nuts and bolts stuff. And at this higher level, you get access to both the research of ICCube, the examples you've seen, which are the management, strategic, and risk management types of research, safety research, the stuff that we've been talking about today. And you also get access, if you would like, at no extra charge, to all this very detailed technical research that can be used in product design by you or your vendors or your supply chain. And you get the ability to redistribute the MIT research under your own name to your customers, to your clients, to your supply chain, so that you can take these models. So the models that you've seen today, I think, are models that you can bring into your organization, give your people, let them use to help you do a better job of cybersecurity. And then at the higher level, as a partner, you can actually get your supply chain or your ecosystem partners, you can redistribute the information and allow them the same benefit and help them to help you. Just to give you an idea, this is an eye chart. This is half of a page from our ICCube website. This is 22 of the 44 research papers that are currently up at no charge as a teaser to get you to join ICCube. I encourage you to go to that URL and take a look, because there's a lot of really, really interesting, really, really useful stuff up there. And then I'd like to close with a quote from Helen Keller, "Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much." And I think that this is, to me, I've spent a little over a year working on NIST. I worked very closely with Samara Moore at the White House, with Andy Osmond, with the whole team at Adam Sedgwick and Kevin Stein and so on, Ed Crawford, Bill Cotter, and Eric Cosman, who I think is gone. And we worked on the cybersecurity framework, and I felt like I was doing a patriotic, something really good for the world, our country for sure, and the world also. And I think this is another case where we can all do the same thing. So I encourage you to join ICCube. Now let's have a panel discussion and have a lot of fun. Thank you very much for your time.